Hello friends, and welcome back to my crafty space where I share my memory keeping projects and processes with all of you. If this is your first time here, then hello and welcome. My name is Crystal and I am super excited that all of you are here today. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below so you can see all of my future crafty videos, and any of the products or the links that I mention, I will go ahead and put in that description box down below. So today I am working on another story page. This one is about my son using the Progress story kit from Ali Edwards. If you guys are new to me, one of my goals every month is to tell at least 3 stories using each story kit. One about my son, one about my daughter, and one about my husband or myself or the two of us together. So this is my story for my son, Jonah. And the entire thing was inspired by this chipboard piece right here that says one step at a time. Jonah, gosh, he started walking in January. So that is like that's 4 months ago now. So he started walking in January, and when was this? Like a month ago, I guess, was the first time that he had walked outside. So I took some pictures of him walking on the sidewalk, and I loved this one. So I chose this one. I added a word or a phrase right here on the photo before I printed it, which I just took from the digital version of this card. I literally took out the words and put them on the page and then recolored them how I wanted them to be. I then took this chipboard piece and I turned it into this giant half circle, which is going to layer on top of my photo and flip open to have journaling underneath it. And here is the journaling underneath. So to make this little half circle bit, I used this card right here that says small steps, big moves. So I took the lined portion to make the lines, and I took out the sentiment to put in the middle. And then I also intend to use this. It was this chipboard piece right here, but I actually wanted it to be red instead of blue. So I recolored it and printed it at the size that I wanted. So before I get started actually assembling this thing, first I'm going to take you guys over to my computer so I can show you exactly how I got these pieces made, these portions made using some of the digital cards, some of the digital chipboard pieces, and some of the digital stamps. So let's go over to the computer. I will show you that. Then we'll come back to the desk. I'll put you guys on fast forward while I assemble this piece together, and then we'll slow down at the end to close up. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so first let's start within Photoshop. Now I'm using Photoshop Creative Cloud, and I'm going to show you guys exactly how I create all of the different elements for this spread, as well as how I designed this before ever printing it off. So the first thing I'm doing is pulling up this photo of Jonah, and this is going to be the large photo that's going to make up the majority of this spread. So all I'm doing for editing is just brightening it up a little bit and increasing the contrast. Then I do go into the camera raw settings in order to add a little bit more saturation and vibrance into the photo, because when I brightened it up, it dulled the picture out, and I just wanted to add some more color back into the image. Then I'm going to I'm going to crop this photo to be the size of the page protector. So I just selected the crop tool. I went up to the top menu and selected the width by height measurement, where I can put in my own measurements, and I cropped it to 8.25 tall by 6.875 wide. And that's what my image ended up being. Next, I opened up the One Step at a Time blue chipboard piece from the Progress story kit, and I cropped this to be the same height, so the 8.25 height, and that's inches, and then the width I wanted it to be 3.5, so it's 3.5 inches wide by 8.25 inches tall. So what happens, because I want the circle part, the like curve, to be totally inside of, or to be cut out, I didn't want it to, let me rephrase that. I needed to align it all the way to the right where that curve is. Because of that, it did cut off a portion of the left-hand side. So what I did to fix that is I went to my paintbrush tool. I selected just a circle paintbrush, grabbed the blue color, and then painted the blue color over top of the one step at a time words. Then I opened up the exact same sentiment, one step at a time, digital stamp, recolored it white by just changing the hue all the way to the white, all the way to the white setting, merged the layers together, and then copy and pasted that onto the half circle here. Finally, I went and pulled open the Keep Going chipboard, which is blue, and then I also pulled open one that said, gosh, I don't remember what it says. Making progress? I forget. It's a little red circle, and I wanted the red color. So I used my eyedropper to grab the red color from the circle chipboard, went back to the Keep Going, and used my paint bucket tool to just change the color of that chipboard to red instead of blue. Then I could copy it and paste it and put it on this half circle as well. Once I had that, I selected both the red Keep Going sentiment and the one step at a time stamp and just made sure everything was positioned and centered where I wanted it to be. Then I temporarily merged all the layers together so I could grab it and put it on top of my photo, so copy it and paste it on top of the photo so I could make sure that it didn't cover up anything that was really important, because my goal was to make it go to not cover any of Jonah up. So once I knew that that was good, I could go ahead back to the circle, which is what I'm doing here, unmerge those layers, delete the one step at a time, delete the chipboard, and then I flipped it horizontally so that it was facing the other way. Once I did that, I used my paint bucket to change it to white. I didn't have to change it to white, it just is easier to work with. And then I opened up this card right here, the Small Steps, Big Moves card. Copied it, pasted it over on top of the half circle, and then I clipped that into the circle shape. So this is how I'm going to get those lines inside of the shape. I'm just going to position it where I want. Then I'm going to paste it again. So it's the same card, paste it again, except I don't want the brown at the bottom. So I'm just going to grab my eraser, make sure that that layer is the one I have selected, and I'm going to erase that bottom brown part and get as close to the first line as possible. What you're seeing underneath is the first card that I pasted on there, the big step or small steps, big moves, right? Sentiment that's starting to poke through. So now that I have that erased, I can go back to my move tool, which is kind of like a compass or a 4 arrow, and I can adjust where that is positioned. And then once I like it, I copy and pasted the middle one. So I just selected the layer with the erased bottom, copied that one, and pasted that one on top, and just kept doing this until I had the entire thing filled with those lines. I think I ended up having to do four layers to get it all the way filled up. Once I have it looking how I want it to look, just like this, I'm going to go over to the layer menu and hit merge visible layers. And that will make this all one layer where I don't have to worry about each of those individual pieces anymore. Now, I'm going to go back to this original card because I actually do want the sentiments. So I'm going to take my marquee tool in the rectangle and I'm just going to select around the words. So I first selected around small steps and the comma, and then I right-clicked on it and layer via copied. Then I clicked on the main card layer again, did the same thing for big moves. So now those are two separate things. So I could select the small steps comma layer, copy that and paste it onto my half circle. Now I can go back and select the other layer, which is the big moves, copy it, paste it onto my half circle, and now I've got my sentiment here. So I'm just making sure it's all centered and it looks good. Then just to make everything look cohesive, I went and grabbed that blue color again. I'm selecting the small steps layer right there, changing to my paint bucket, and I will paint in the words the blue color. At first I thought about keeping this like brownish orange color, but I don't know, it just bothered me that the color wasn't really anywhere else other than the lines. So instead I decided to just change it and make it match the rest of this page. So then I went and grabbed the red. I came back, I selected the big moves layer, and then hit my paint bucket and colored each of those words there. Now that this is how I want it to be, I'm again going to go up to my layer menu and I'm going to merge the layers. So now this is just one card. Then I can use my text tool to create text lines, and I just make these individually. I just skipped over it because it took me a long time. And right now this is all fake writing. I will eventually put in my own later before I print this off. I just wanted to show you how that looks. So I temporarily, again, merged all the layers together so I could copy it and paste it and put it over onto this canvas. Now, the canvas that I'm working on that you see with the photo right here is, it's like a 14 inches by 8.25. It's just to give me an idea of what this is going to look like when it's printed. I'm not actually going to print anything from there. It just is literally for me to see. So now I want to embellish the photo a little bit. I opened up this card, this one step at a time card, and I have selected my quick selection tool. With that, I am selecting each of the letters on this page, and then I am unselecting the inside portions of the letters like the O, the P, and the A by holding down my Alt key and clicking in the middle. So it just changes the little sign from a plus to a minus. Then I could right click and hit layer via copy or layer via cut, whichever, it doesn't matter. I can copy the new layer and paste it onto my photo, which is what I'm doing right here. Now, this right here is one of those fabric hearts, and I actually purchased those. So I am going to put that on the photo so I can see what it will look like. But I am not going to print it because I have it in its actual, like its real form. So sometimes I will use the elements digitally just to look at space before printing it, and then I will delete that back off and then print the photo. So this photo I print with the one step at a time sentiment, the small steps, big moves journaling portion I print on cardstock, and then the one step at a time blue half circle I end up printing on photo paper just because I want it to be super saturated. So another thing to note is that when the one step at a time blue half circle is over top of the photo, I didn't want anything underneath it to show. So I did make sure to adjust my embellishments so that you could not see it when the blue was over top. Okay, so I went ahead and printed everything, and now we're going to get to work on the physical portion. So first I'm going to get everything cut out. I skipped over most of the cutting out the photo and the chipboard piece because I figured that's pretty self-explanatory. But this, cutting out the half circle, was a little tricky. So what I did is I first cut it down into the rectangle like this right here, and I did this for both of them. Because there are lines on this one, it's hard to see with the lighting here, but because there are lines on this circle or this half circle, I can kind of judge where the line is that it should be cut on. So then once I had this rectangular shape, I just kind of, I don't know, like guesstimate, cut into the journaling because there's no line for me to know where to cut that at. But then I took the one step at a time blue half circle and I did cut that one along the line. Once I have that done, I'm actually going to put the pieces together. I'm not going to adhere them, just put them back to back, and I'm going to hold them up to my really bright lights. And what that's going to do, even though my photo is blue, when you hold it up to the light, you still can see through to where the text is. So that's going to help me to position it perfectly so that the text is not cut off anywhere. Once I had that done, I put it on my table and I just lightly drew a line using pencil on the backside. So then I can cut this out and it's much more accurate. And then I can adhere the two pieces together. Now, the reason I couldn't adhere them together in order to cut it out in the first place is that this is going to be a flip up. So there is going to be a piece of paper that I'm going to sandwich in between these two pieces. So I just, I couldn't adhere them like right in the beginning. Next, I'm going to go ahead and create a faux chipboard piece with this keep going printout. So what I have is just some recycled cardboard box. This is from just like a food item. And I am going to tape a couple of layers onto the back of this, onto the back of that keep going sentiment. I did have somebody recently ask me about whether or not the cardboard is acidic, and I actually don't know. So if that is something that you really avoid, maybe wait a while and I will report back on if it causes any discoloration on my photos. So, whatever, it happens. For me, I print all my own photos at home, and if something happens, I have everything saved so I can always recreate these things. It doesn't bother me that much. However, if you want to make something like this and, acidity and that stuff, discoloration, all that really matters a lot to you, Scrapbook.com does sell chipboard sheets, which I've actually thought about purchasing a couple of those because really to make chipboard like this, it does not take a lot of the material. So that I probably will definitely look into getting some of that because I don't want my pictures to be ruined. So just in case there is an acidity level, who knows? But if there's not, if some time goes by and nothing happens, I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, so I have a piece of just regular old copy paper here, and I cut it to be 2 inches wide, and I folded it in half. So I just scored it in half using my cutting board and a bone folder. And then I adhered one portion to the back of my photo and the other portion to the back of the journaling bit. So then once I have that, I can trim off the excess pieces. And there are going to be, the corner bits by the circle piece that need to be trimmed off as well. I did have to adjust. Really, I had to adjust both sides actually. But I did have to adjust this just to make sure that it wasn't crooked, which is what's really nice about using that permanent dot adhesive is that you have a little bit of time to adjust things before they are permanently adhered and rip and do all the things. Once I had those pieces done, next I adhered the one step at a time blue half circle to the top of the journaling. So this is going to become my flip. Now, once I had it on there, there was a little bit of excess around the edges. So I did just trim that off just to clean it all up and make it look really nice. And then the last things I have to do here are to embellish the inside, add those couple things, and to get this thing hole punched. While I do that, why don't I read you guys my writing? So this is a story about Jonah. I said, since you are a fall baby and a bit of a late walker, you really didn't start walking until the middle of our winter season. So you only walked inside and on super stable ground. It wasn't until this nicer March afternoon arrived that you took your first steps outside. You were so nervous, wanting to hold my hand and stay right by my side the whole time. Once you started getting the hang of walking on the uneven ground, the smile never left your face. You were excited to be exploring something new and kept encouraging us to walk further and further around the neighborhood. You stopped to pick up leaves and you pointed at all the trees, calling them out by name. Tree. You transformed into my little outside loving boy, and you have been begging to go walk and run and play outside ever since. So yeah, it's just a cute little story about Jonah's first time walking outside. Okay, so I have added on that fabric heart, and I did also add a little sticker that said "on my way" that just repeated the blue once again. Then I'm getting this hole punched, and then that is it. So let's go ahead and close you out. All right, so that completes the spread. It was quick and easy and came out super quick. Well, really the more complicated design work was all done on the computer. But once it was all printed, this came together really quick and fast, and it's adorable. I love this story. I love having this documented, and this kit, you guys, is so good. Anyway, I hope that this gives you guys some ideas on how you can use your digital kits, right? Like this was a digital piece to create something totally new and different from it, like a flip, you know? And also maybe gave you some ideas on how you can create your own templates by using a shape and clipping something into it to create a journaling spot like this one. Anyway, that is going to do it for today. If you guys like this video, give me a thumbs up down below. And I will see you back again tomorrow for the next tutorial in my digital stamps, which is going to be working with a silhouette cameo. So if you guys are interested in seeing how to turn digital stamps into cut files, come back tomorrow and check out the video that will be here then. Until then, I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I will catch you all in the next video. Bye now.